We're now joined by the Hall of Fame running back Jerome Bettis. The Bus, appreciate your time. These have been some interesting times and some challenging times, Jerome, for our country. And I want to begin there. May 25th, the death of George Floyd. What have your conversations and emotions been like since?
You know, it's been a range of emotion. Obviously, you're angered, outraged at what you saw. And then it goes to, okay, where are we going to take, the struggle, this country, and the need for equality? And so the challenge is to try to educate as many people as we possibly can, because obviously when you try to change anything that's been changed in America hasn't been changed easily. And so that's the part that I understand. And so I'm trying to use whatever resources I have to try to show people the glaring differences that we have to deal with as black Americans, and so that hopefully we can see that change happen in my lifetime, but more importantly, in my children's lifetime.
What's it like for you as an African-American male who has been successful, who's made it in his profession? Someone wants to say, well, what are you talking about? What do you have to complain about? How do you kind of balance that walk when people are questioning you?
Yes, and that's a difficult situation. People say, well, you don't see it. I see it. I see it every day. I have to have that conversation with my son, with my daughter when they leave the house, because there's different expectations on them than on the other kids. And so I try to be as clear as I possibly can, because obviously there is that double standard, but what I don't want to do is to not let my kids see the reality of what's going on. Obviously, we've been in a really good situation, but it still doesn't change the fact that there's been discrimination, and my kids have had to deal with those issues at school. And so we have that conversation. So it's not so much different. The only difference is maybe where I live as opposed to where everyone else lives, but that doesn't change the fact that the issue is clear and it affects me just like it affects everyone else.
What was it like for you as a child navigating race? At what point in your life were you aware that you were a minority in this country?
You know what, growing up in inner city Detroit, I didn't see a lot of the racial tensions early on in my life. Obviously, my middle school, my high school, everything was all black students. So I didn't see that. But as I moved outside of the school parameters in the neighborhood, or when we would hang out, they say, hey, don't go to Dearborn, Michigan, because if you go there, you might be in serious trouble. And then you start to realize that there are certain places that you're welcome, and there's certain places where you're not welcome. And you start to understand that very clearly, that you are playing under different rules than everyone else.
How did you navigate race in the locker room when you were playing at the height of your power?
So in the locker room, that's the one area where it's non-racial. It has no race issues at all, because everybody needs each other. And I think that's the one unique part of sports that is not in America. The fact that we all need each other to be successful. So it doesn't matter if you're black, blue, green, yellow, white. If you can get the job done, I need your help. And unfortunately, it's not like that in America. The first thought or the first look is, well, what does he look like? Who is this guy? What's his last name? Those are some of the things that you see outside of the sports realm. But the sports realm is the one really unique place where race really doesn't exist.
What have your interactions with law enforcement been like?
You know what? Those have been, a little bit difficult at an early age. As I've gotten older, I have a clear understanding of that issue. And so I try to be as polite and as nice as I possibly can to avoid any of those issues. And so I haven't had any of those ugly issues that are out there that exist, but I'm very conscious of that and make sure that I am in a non-threatening position at all times. And it's unfortunate that I have to think like that, but that's the reality of African American in America. You have to think like that.
Are you disappointed that at this time of your life that you still have to act that way?
You know what? I'm disappointed, but I'm in a good place in the sense that right now the veil of ignorance has been pulled up, and now everyone sees that the things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. And so now you can't be ignorant to what's going on. You see it. So now the question is, what are we going to do going forward? That's the big question. How can we turn this situation into a positive for our country? Now, if it's any indicator, our history has always been that of very much turmoil. And so hopefully it doesn't have to come to that level, but people have to understand that this needs to stop, and it needs to stop now. And as the African American, I won't stand for it, and I'm sure my brothers and my sisters, they won't stand for it either. So it's time for a change.
You've lived all over the country, you've traveled all over the world. When you go back to Notre Dame and speak to students, when you go to inner city Detroit and speak to kids, what's your level of optimism after you have these conversations with these young people? You know,
my level of optimism is great because I know the next generation will benefit from the demands that we put on our country, on our government, and on the individual people themselves. So there's going to be a benefit. We may not see the clear benefit of it, but hopefully my children, my children's children, and all of our children will see that benefit. But we have to continue to stay diligent and not let up. Because if we let up and say, okay, it's enough, then things go back to the status quo, and we cannot have things going back to where it was.
A lot of people are confused that they want to help, they don't know how to help.
Yeah.
You've navigated race your entire life. You've been an ambassador on whatever team you've been a part of. What solutions do you have?
Well, the solutions are to reach out to your government officials because so many times people don't know what to do. If you know that it's wrong, then you have to make your voice heard, and that is getting in how you vote, but also in your elected officials, letting them know that you're watching, that you're paying attention, that you are making your presence felt. And if everyone collectively does that, then from a politician and a policy standpoint, everyone knows clear and definitively where we need to go.
It's terrific advice, Jerome. Always appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.